Hello, everyone. Welcome to Word Funk. I'm Leon Thomas, and I'm joined by Austin Yorsky and Johnny Maloney. Can we talk about how much Howard Schultz sucks ass?
Oh, yes, we can.
Okay. In case anyone has been living under a rock or just doesn't care about the shit that I care about, which is the same thing, a billionaire, former head of Starbucks, might be running for president as an independent, which basically means he's not running for president. Third-party candidate is systemically blocked from actually achieving the presidency in America due to the grip that our two parties have.
But he's not systemically blocked from sucking my nuts.
Yeah, wait, but that's a whole other topic. But what that means
I'm
is
very tired. It's gonna be a weird episode for me, y'all. Just letting you know up front.
No, let's go ahead. But what this means is that, in a way, I'm running for president as much as Howard Schultz is running for president. But in my non-presidential campaign, I'm going to have zero chance of bonering up the general election in 2020.
Right.
Now, some people, like often wrong Nate Silver, says that Schultz will probably just take a bit out of both Trump's potential voters and whatever Democratic nominees' potential voters. But we don't know that for sure. Another possibility is that he and the Democrat will both be seen as anti-Trump because Trump's the incumbent, and therefore they will just split the vote. Not like 50-50 or anything, but even losing a couple percent of the vote could be catastrophic.
More like Howard Schultz.
Nailed it.
Now,
you got him.
At the same time, I feel like I need to bring up the possibility here that there are a lot of people who are disappointed in Trump who voted for him last election.
Yeah, I understand that, like, he's got a lot going against him, but the thing is, like, even when the Democrats have a clear majority, they still lose.
Yes.
Because of colonial slave owners and their shitty laws just zombified and walking around America, still ruining things in the 21st fucking century.
And also the concentration of Democrats around, like, certain states and...
Yeah. Some. I mean, in a way, like some people have done the math, and some votes just count more in some states than they do in others.
Yes.
Believe it or not, that is like an actual thing. But by the way, Howard Schultz. It's not just that, like, oh, he can't win, so why is he doing this? Howard Schultz is a whining billionaire who thinks it's wrong for people to not like the fact that billionaires exist. Well,
I mean,
I don't.
God
Howard.
forbid that you build your billions and billions of dollars on government programs begat from the New Deal and, like, high tax rates on the wealthy elite, things like that slowly over the years have been eroded. And then come into the public eye and be like, well, I made myself up from the ground and I didn't get help from anybody except from all that, like, public housing that I grew up in and, like, government grants that, like, sent me to college, which was way cheaper back in the day. And also housing costs were so much lower. But I mean, you know, like, you can be here too.
Hey, Howard, why don't you order a venti cup of my butt?
Howard the Dick, that's your name now, directed by George Lucas.
Austin, is that gonna be iced or, like, hot? But
It's just really cute that when you have a lot of money, you just think, like, well, fuck it, I'll be president. It's basically the same thing.
He says he's running for president under the pretense that he's doing it because Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez says billionaires should pay a little more.
and then is apparently amazed that a box of Cheerios costs $4.
Oh my god.
Look, it's very look what you made me do, which is the language of an abuser. He's running on the Be Fair to Billionaires platform because he replaced the part of his brain that has self-awareness with one of those golden donuts that those prolapsed assholes buy.
But just imagine seeing all the levers of power and all the hundreds of people involved in the legislation process and all of the big money interest groups and all of the various foreign policy concerns and all of the stuff that goes on in politics and being like, you know what really chaps my ass? It's that one Latina who's only been on the news for like 6 months. I got to do something about her.
Look, I said it earlier today on Twitter. Okay. I'm not a single man. I'm a temporarily inconvenienced married man.
Yeah, the economics of trying to get Johnny laid.
Look, Howard Schultz is worth $3.4 billion, which is so much money it wouldn't fit on a check unless I wrote the zeros really small. Now, I have a calculator, and according to it, if Howard Schultz lost 99% of his net worth tonight by gambling on human beings fighting in a basement.
Or if we just did a Home Alone kind of heist.
Wait,
we wet bandits.
Hang on. Is there a basement fight I don't know about? Because I'm in.
Sorry, billionaires only, Johnny.
Shit.
Yeah, that's how they get us. But no, seriously, if he lost 99% of his net worth right now, he would still have $34 million. You can support both yourself and your family for the rest of your life, and then some, if you had 1% of what Schultz has now. But billionaires hoard their money anyway.
Well, I mean, like, not so long ago, there was the Jeff Bezos thing where he's divorcing his wife, and oh dear, now he's only going to be the fourth richest person.
He's divorcing his wife is a really nice way to put he got caught trying to cheat on his wife with a married woman.
Look, I'm not making moral judgments. This is not the moral judgment section.
Oh, now it is.
Oh, it definitely is.
Okay, all right, let's segue right into that. What a fuckwad. Both of them.
Yeah.
That's the great thing about our politics is we get both the economic high ground and the moral high ground, baby.
Yeah. And by the way, before someone starts typing in the comments, don't tell me he earned it, because nobody really earns $1 billion in any meaningful way.
Unless he invented coffee.
Did you guys?
If nobody but him thought of it, maybe.
I saw a really great thing on the internet today that was like, Rule 34. If it exists, then there's pornography on Twitter. And it was this photo of somebody trying to Google ethical capitalism pornography.
Jesus.
And it was like, I'm sorry, ethical capitalism pornography shows up no results.
Oh my God. Listen, a billionaire uses money and power over the legal system and the American government to gain more money and more power until they actually become the billionaire.
How fucking hilarious. I'm sorry. I just have to bring this up, like, as a quick aside. Citizens United. What a fucking great name.
Yeah. Even if this guy somehow gained his billions through the most innocent means possible, which is not a thing, the mere existence of billionaires in a country that still has so many people in poverty is obscene.
Leon, are you trying to tell me that a company that makes most of its money off of, like, farm crops from, like, super poor day laborers in third world countries to supply them with the beans that make their beverage is like, didn't do it himself?
Does Starbucks get their chocolate directly from slaves, or do they use like a third party?
Yeah, there's usually a slavery middleman, and that sounds like we're being hyperbolic for effect, but like there are ongoing slavery lawsuits in a lot of agricultural industries.
The thing about it is that when you walk into coffee shops, when you walk into like any kind of area, economically, like market speaking, that has like little stamps that say, oh hey, this one's fair trade, then you can go ahead and assume that everything else is not. And that is very true of the coffee market.
We are about 10 minutes deep in this guy's asshole, so I think it might be time to move on. I think if you listen to this show with any regularity,
Austin, he's got a huge asshole, so I mean, 10 minutes is like barely scraping the surface.
Yeah. Long story short, billionaires do not make the country better. They widen the gap between the rich and the poor. They hoard money, and they do not pass it down to you. Even George H.W. Bush knew that was bullshit. He just went along with it after he became vice president, because it's a really great trick to get the super wealthy to contribute to your campaign. What I'm trying to say is steal things. That's
And also, I think it should be pointed out that government should not be run like a business.
I mean, you'd hope, but like...
I mean, no, like,
yeah.
it's like it should not be. Because the whole role of government is to care for the citizens that contribute to it. Whereas, like, the role of a business is dollar, money, cocaine and hoes.
That was the whitest, just the whitest thing.
Yeah. Okay. So that was my topic. Anyone else want to take the baton?
Yeah, dude, I'm balls deep in topics. I got more topics than your body has room for. I watched two documentaries on the same phenomenon. Are you aware?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm sure I know what it is,
you went Fire Festival, didn't you?
Yeah, everybody's talking about it. It's the documentaries heard around the world. None of this is going to make any sense. It's gibberish to me as I'm saying it. Just hold on. We'll get through it together.
DashCon 3.
I watched the Hulu and the Netflix documentaries on the Fire Festival, which was a kind of scam that this monstrous person named Billy did on Ja Rule, who was, of course, a victim and not part of it at all. Don't believe the lies. So why would I watch two documentaries about the same thing, you ask? Good question. They actually both have interesting perspectives. The Netflix one was made partially, I think, by Vice, the company, as well as Fuck Jerry is what they're called. They're like a PR firm which is kind of involved in this. So it's almost like self-exculpatory.
And by the way, fuck Jerry.
Yeah. So the Netflix documentary is kind of compromised from the jump because the people making it were also involved in some of the fraud, depending on who you believe. However, they also have way better access to behind-the-scenes footage because they were there.
Yeah, it kind of bothers me because being a Canadian, not having access to Hulu. The Netflix documentary is the only one that I have access to, and I keep looking at it, and I'm like,
So Johnny, have you seen either, and Leon as well?
I can't watch the Hulu one, but no. But the thing is, I have animosity towards Fuck Jerry because the whole brand got built up from stealing jokes and memes and not crediting people and things like that. And they get paid like thousands of dollars for their Instagram posts, and yeah, they were involved in promoting Fire Festival. So it's kind of like, at the same time I want to watch the train wreck, but then at the same time I'm also like, this is a human tragedy in more ways than one.
Yeah, and I think the two documentaries show the different ways you can interpret this tragedy. The Netflix one has a lot of behind-the-scenes footage because the people making it were there, and it's kind of a tragedy of the failure of the checks and balances in like finance, because basically what he was doing was running a scheme, defrauding investors, basically just these gullible rich kids, both who were giving to his app company and then the people he was selling the tickets to who were kind of buying this lifestyle. And the Hulu documentary, which doesn't have all this behind-the-scenes access, is much more interested in the broader cultural relevance of this whole thing, kind of how it reflects social media ages, how it reflects like millennials' desire to be part of something special, how it represents like complete lack of real truth, like provable truth in this like internet age. And so it's kind of going for something broader and like more like, here's what this says about us, where Netflix is like, here's a video of Ja Rule thinking this isn't a scam. So they both have interesting perspectives and they have details that the other one doesn't. So they kind of make good companion pieces, even though I think they were positioned as competitors. The Hulu one, I think, ends with a mention of the other one being made. I enjoyed them both a lot, and I would recommend them. I don't know if I prefaced this. I assume everyone knows what Firefest is. Even I, who wasn't following it prior to the disaster was made aware when it became like a joke, right?
Basically, yeah.
Well, I mean,
basically.
even before it was a joke, it was kind of a disaster because like people couldn't even fly out. Of
Yeah,
the
I wasn't
Bahamas.
aware of it at that time. Like, I don't follow rich, famous, cool people. Everyone on my timeline is just like queer people who like
I
video
follow
games.
tragedy. Okay, maybe that's not right. Tragedy kind of like coalesces around me. So when it happens, I just kind of go, "Oh yeah, that makes sense." So yeah, when Fire Festival was happening, I was keenly aware of it. But
Yeah,
I mean the quick like off the cuff joke I made a little bit earlier where I said DashCon 3.
and yeah, I don't know enough about DashCon. Was that meant as a fraud all along, or is that just
Yeah.
it just failed?
I think it just failed.
Yeah.
But
The
well,
result is the same though. Is
Sure,
that
but-
it's not like, oh, I had really good intentions when I stabbed you. I was trying to get out that like, bad appendix.
No, there's a meaningful material difference because Billy McFarland was running basically they're fraud. He went to jail for this. This was
Yeah,
like, not like, oh, he failed. Like, no, he was running a
I'm not
scam.
I'm not suggesting that intention doesn't matter. What I'm saying
we
is
discussed
that
on Law Corner that it definitely does sometimes.
well, like, what I'm suggesting is that to the victims the result is the same.
But I think the documentaries do a good job of getting at the question of who are the victims here, because a lot of people were like, when they saw the pictures coming out of all these rich kids and the bad food they were eating and the bad tents they were staying in, and all these people crying on social media about what a bad time they had, the response wasn't like, oh, that sucks for them. It was like, lol, idiots, gave all their money to this fake shit, you dumb bitch. Like, there's a kind of an examination of the Schadenfreude, which, I mean, full disclosure, this is a safe place. I enjoyed seeing the rich people being sad. It brought me joy. That's not a great part of my personality, but it exists, and I did enjoy it. But what's not enjoyable...
It's okay to accept yourself, Austin.
What's not enjoyable, and who are real victims of this, tragedy, if you want to call it that, are mostly the Bahamians, the natives of this island,
the local laborers
who worked without recompense, who had their savings wiped out by people promising money they never intended to pay, people who were taken advantage of in just innumerable ways, as well as, in a sense, the investors who Billy tricked by saying that his app was worth an infinity dollars or whatever, when it clearly wasn't. And luckily there was some justice, because all it took, the FBI was like 5 minutes to look at the paperwork, and they're like, oh no, dog, you're going to jail big time. And it was like, oh, hey, someone actually did get in trouble. And that's because he wasn't.
Well, you see, he wasn't rich though. He just pretended
it was all
to
fake.
be.
It was basically like a Ponzi scheme, like a pyramid scheme of him taking advantage of progressively bigger people, saying, I have all this money coming, all I need is a little bit more. And then he put all that together and then like use it to make himself look bigger, to promote this lifestyle. He had this whole scam with these like fancy credit cards, which he would he'd take out loans to pay for perks, which, actually lost him money, but it gave out this sense of success, which he leveraged for other endeavors. It's really about rich people wanting to be around rich people and show how rich they are, and how it's all a bubble. A lot of our economy is just financial services, and none of it has real worth. And there's no labor.
Do you want to like
fake?
Do you want to like talk about something personal when it comes to bubbles, like economic bubbles and shit like that?
Uh-oh, did you invest everything in Bitcoin, Johnny?
No, I did not, but
Okay.
I got a letter from my municipal government stating my my apartment's net worth this week. So here's the thing, is that I purchased my apartment. Real money aside, how much I put as a down payment, what my mortgage is, no matter, okay? When I purchased my apartment, it was valued at $365,000 Canadian. That was back in, I want to say 2015, maybe 2014, possibly. Apparently, my apartment now is valued at $596,000.
Well, that's because you put all that Johnny Stank on it.
Well, I mean, hey, the sign I put out front that said Johnny Stank probably did contribute to it. But this is the thing, is that it's like, I'm not worth that much money. This house is not worth that much money. The very idea that I can just like sell this apartment and be like, I'm rich, I've got like $600,000 is fucking stupid, because every other apartment in the neighborhood is similarly valued. Like, numbers don't mean anything in themselves in the economy. It's all about relativity. So, like, yeah, I could sell this apartment and be like, "Ooh, look how much money I have," but I don't have anywhere to live. And that, like,
I mean, you'd have to move somewhere like way lower end, I guess.
that's the thing, is that it value is relative.
I'm trying to think if I've ever owned anything more valuable than my computer that I'm looking at right now, which is like $800 all told. I think
Austin,
that might be the most valuable thing I've owned in my entire life.
Look, the only reason why I was ever able to actually put a down payment on an apartment was because my dad died.
Yeah.
With a life insurance policy that gave me some amount of money that I was able to invest, that I immediately lost about a third of, because the crash in 2007 or 8 happened, and then I kept it there. I didn't run out and get bottle service at like the hottest bars in town or anything like that. I was like, no, this money is for something important. And then I met someone. We fell in love. We decided we were going to move in together. I was like, okay, it's time to make a home. That was it. And now, like, that its value has almost doubled in 5 years, that doesn't mean anything. Because, like, the value is having a home. But the numbers are like, oh my god, you're fucking rich!
I mean, it is a good illustration of just how having access to liquid capital can change how you, like, approach life. Because once you have some place to start with, like, the problem with generational wealth, right, is if you just start with anything at all to begin with, that can work for you. You can make the investments that
absolutely
people, in other socioeconomic situations cannot, and you're essentially playing a different game than everyone else in the economy. But that's a conversation for another time. We've already gone too political.
My dad died too young, right? But, I mean, all you need to do is just add a 0 to the end of those values. Like the value that I got from the life insurance. I don't have any inheritance yet because my mother is still, thankfully, alive. She's a lovely woman, and she makes the best Yorkshire puddings you've ever had. But if you added a 0 to the end of every sum of money involved in all of this, I would liquid be rich.
Johnny, if you ever sell the place and you have an open house, don't clean it. You're going to want that stank.
Don't worry, the stank comes free of charge.
You got to bake it deep in there.
That's a deal right there.
Yeah, that's it. In fact, like, okay. I'm actually going to, when they do open houses, I'm going to be lounging around naked in provocative poses.
Nice. Oh my god.
Or, with very appropriately placed silk scarves.
How am I supposed to do the rest of this podcast all horned up?
I thought we did all our podcasts horned up.
Sometimes. Yeah. So
all right.
yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go
No,
ahead.
I was literally gonna do the thing you were gonna do, which is said, all right, we've gone very deep into a lot of different things here. We're about half an hour in. I think we've only covered like one substantive topic. Does anybody have something else? I can move on, of course.
Hang on.
Yeah, I have something real quick.
Fuck Howard Schultz.
Obviously.
Yeah.
And watch both documentaries.
Yeah. I don't want to get too political right now, guys. But how great is Greek yogurt?
I'm actually not a yogurt fan.
Oh, okay.
That's fine.
That's it. That's my entire time. I'm done.
No, I'm
someone
more
else.
a hummus guy.
Wait, are those
I like that
comparable?
too.
It's not like
it's completely different.
Yeah,
They are, but that's,
Wait, let's go back.
I
Let's
don't
go
have a
back.
sweet tooth, right?
Okay.
So when I'm like, I want something creamy, I'm like, fuck yeah.
Wait, and that's interesting to me because like I want something with this particular texture is not a thing for me. For me, it's like I want something sweet or I want something salty. That's like those are the only two things.
No,
that
I'm
exist, for me.
huge into texture.
I believe it. I believe that's a Johnny thing.
I imagine Johnny has business cards that say Johnny Maloney, I'm huge into texture and nothing else. Not even a number to call it.
They actually say a texture aficionado.
Okay.
They don't need to call him. They just set out the texture signal into the sky, and Johnny will come.
Oh my god.
I have a cape.
So, last week on this show, Johnny recommended to me a movie, and I'm very upset with him. So that's what we're going to talk about next.
Okay.
Tell me about Polar, Austin.
It's real bad.
You think so?
Yeah, I mean, in a way, it is clearly going for something hyper stylistic that's not supposed to be taken 100% seriously. But I don't think it succeeds particularly well. So let's like set the scene here. Polar,
All right.
starring Mads Mikkelsen, based on a comic, I believe a webcomic. I didn't actually look into it.
I don't know if it's a webcomic, but it is based on a comic. Yeah.
I know it was collected by Dark Horse because it says that at the end. It says based on the Dark Horse comic, Polar something the cold. I don't remember exactly. Probably should have done more research, but that's not what you come to the podcast for. You want to hear about the creamy textures. That's what you're doing here.
Absolutely. You gotta get your crackers in there.
You do. I think this movie comes from like a long line of kind of hitman and like with a heart of gold kind of stories. Leon the Professional, John Wick. Even Agent 47 from Hitman to an extent. He has like a bird that is kind of his Matilda.
I never watched the
perspective.
Hitman movies. So
I can't hear you, Johnny.
I said I never watched the Hitman movies.
Okay. I mean, they're not good, but the games can convey a lot of that. There's things to like about the movie Polar. Mads Mikkelsen running through the snow naked, as you mentioned, is a very good image. There's a couple of scenes where cool things happen, but
the hallway fight was nice.
Yeah, I mean, hallway fights are always good. That's just kind of a thing. If you're like, oh, what do we do in this action movie? You want to have a fight in a hallway? Yeah, people love that shit.
Yeah, but it was like one way. It wasn't like Daredevil where it was like dodging in and out or anything like that. You know, it had some creative choreography.
It was okay, and it's a Netflix original. I believe it was financed by Netflix, so
yes.
It has some budgetary limitations. I feel like a lot of the budget went to Mads, just getting him in the bitch. Like, there's not a lot going on, and I don't know. Can you articulate what worked for you about the movie? Because I feel like I'm about to launch into a diatribe that's like very negative.
I like the tone. I like the cinematography. I like the choreography. It was fun.
I wanted it to be fun.
I had fun with it.
Okay, there's a couple of movies that I think it'd be easy to compare it to. Obviously, like the Hitman ones I named before. But I tweeted about this. The one that came to mind was The Spirit. That movie that was kind of like an also ran of Sin City, another a movie.
The one that Frank Miller actually directed.
Stylized.
Didn't Frank Miller actually direct The Spirit too?
Yes, he did.
Yeah, and listen, Frank Miller is someone who should be dunked on. I, however, did really enjoy the Sin City movies, both of them. Even the second one, which I think was critically panned. The Spirit, not so much. The Spirit, I think, was probably one of the worst experiences I ever had in a theater, which is where I saw it. And it was going for the same kind of tone that Polar does, where it's like dark, 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 and then way, way over the top. Just like almost slapstick comedy and like color and a kind of Tarantino-esque sensibility of trying to combine these things, and they don't work in The Spirit, and they don't work for me in Polar. Defend yourself, Johnny.
Well, I did not like The Spirit either.
Good.
So I'm not going to defend that ever at all in any reality, in any parallel dimension. I liked Polar because whereas I felt like The Spirit was super exaggerative, I felt like Polar was indulgent.
That's a good word. Like when the movie opens on the guy from Jackass, who's Johnny
Knoxville.
Yeah, he's like partying at this like his estate or whatever, and there's an attractive woman there, and they start doing sex stuff, and then it turns out it's actually a setup, and there's like 8 assassins who all kill him, but there's like no guards at this place. They could, like, the guy with the sniper rifle could have just shot him. Like, there's no reason for any of that. It feels so indulgent that they had to bring in all of these like over-the-top, highly stylized, specific assassins to coordinate this, like, 7-layer hit of a guy who's out in the open with no security. And it's, like, indulgent is the word, because it's like someone had in their mind that they were making this, like, goofy but still violent and cool movie. But what they actually did was kind of stage, like, a little embarrassing home movie.
It is super staged. That's a great word to describe like how the whole movie is. Like it is incredibly staged. It requires suspension of disbelief. It's almost Brechtian, if I can bring out a $4 word here.
I mean, you should. I think with the villain who is playing, I mean, cartoonish isn't even sufficient, right? It's like, my language fails me. The only thing I can compare it to is when Samuel L. Jackson comes out in the Nazi uniform in The Spirit.
It's caricature-esque.
It's preposterous on a level where I was like, oh, they should just go full comedy. Like, this could be funny if you just kept going, but they don't. They pull back into, like, hyper-violence. Another movie I wanted to compare it to, more because of the premise, is a movie called Smokin' Aces. Have either of you seen that?
Yes.
No.
That's a movie where very similarly a very colorful bunch of assassins all try to kill a guy. That's like the main comparison. But Smokin' Aces, which is a kind of meathead action movie that probably no one should have ever thought about again after seeing it, has really stuck with me. I think it's a really good execution of the wacky hitmen doing a hit movie, which is an entire subgenre. And I actually looked on the Wikipedia page because I was just like, what did other people think about Smokin' Aces? And yeah, like it wasn't critically received super well. It has a 45 out of 100 on Metacritic. Like, no, it's nobody's favorite. But then I saw a quote here from Terrence Malick, who's saying that it was like really good and he liked it. Here it says, during a rare talk for Princeton University's series of film screenings in October 2016, director Terrence Malick praised the film, stating, "It was very well directed and impressive in how it was able to balance numerous plot lines." And I was like, damn, Terrence Malick and me are finally on the same wavelength.
Maybe Terrence Malick is one of those like smart guys who makes really fancy, great movies, but at the same time he just loves trash. Like that, like his work is his work, but like his home life is just like Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Yeah, I'm worried that if I go back and watch
Buffy's
Tree of Life,
not
I might
trash,
like it.
okay?
What, Johnny?
I said Buffy's not trash.
Okay, it's not, but like I'm saying, like if the high art guy likes the comparatively low art stuff.
Well, yeah. I mean, like Trent Reznor listens to like loads of gangster rap.
That means nothing. There's plenty of good gangster rap.
No, I mean there is, but
I don't know.
I'm not saying that gangster rap is trash. I'm just saying is that it has no bearing on what Trent Reznor produces as music.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny that you said you like the tone of Polar, because I just sent me down this rabbit hole of thinking about how people have tried to combine ultra-violence with slapstick, but not gone into comedy, like still make an action movie, and somehow we ended up in Terrence Malick, and it's just like this confluence of people trying to do really well-executed art with kind of lower brow material. And I'm not sure I have a thesis statement other than to say I really like Smokin' Aces. I haven't seen the second one, which is even more reviled critically. I did not enjoy Polar, basically at all, except for Mads Mikkelsen's body situation.
It's so good.
And maybe I need to rewatch some Terrence Malick movies, because maybe I've matured as a person.
I still hate Tree of Life.
Go right ahead and do that. I'm probably going to watch the extended cut of that soon.
I haven't enjoyed any of them, but I always want to. I feel like I'm the kind of person who should like Terrence Malick, and it upsets my sense of self that I'm not. All right, so
I'm sorry.
Johnny...
I'm sorry you didn't like it, Austin. I was down for it. I was there for it. I had fun. It entertained me. It was cartoonish and dark and weird, and in certain places, I felt it evoked empathy in me.
Okay.
I mean,
I don't know. Maybe it was just that, my birthday was nearby, and I was like, yep, getting older. I know what that feels like.
Yeah, I feel like it does have some like thematic ideas that aren't fully explored, like aging, which is important, and it makes me curious that, like, if this was material worth adapting, maybe the original comic like really does nail that, and I'm interested. I mean, oh god, I'm looking at this now. It has a 21 on Rotten Tomatoes. Like, I think this might be like one of the least acclaimed things Netflix has put out. It's I'm just looking at this and like everybody hated it. Johnny's way cooler than us. He's ahead of the curve.
Look, I get it. It goes ridiculous.
Uh-huh.
Like the whole green laser scene. I was like, you go be yourself, movie. When you're ready to come off the roundabout, I'll come get you.
Apparently this comic, which I really should have read about before, has a complete lack of dialogue. Polar is characterized by its highly stylized design, a complete lack of dialogue, though speech balloons were added in the graphic novel publications by Dark Horse.
Oh my god, Austin, I just realized.
Yeah.
I know why you hate it.
Oh god, why?
Because of the dog.
Oh, yeah, I felt like that was an intentional, like, subversion of the John Wick thing, because it's, like, so obvious, and so they set it up, he has a dog, and then he doesn't, let's say. Yeah, does that even count as a spoiler? But yeah, obviously that didn't endear me to the main character. I like Mads, but the character didn't do anything for me.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just reading about this comic now.
I thought it was well made. Like I said, I like the tone. I like the choreography. And the cinematography. And locations. What can I say?
Okay.
I like what I like.
Fine. All right. I watched the movie. I mean, I guess I can talk about it.
Has the embargo dropped?
I mean, we're here. It's a 1989 horror movie called Society. Have either of you ever seen it?
I don't think so.
No, but I've heard of it.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's hard to talk about without going into spoilers. So here goes, I guess. If you don't want to hear about Society, then move forward a few minutes in the podcast. So basically, it stars oh god, what is his name? Billy Warlock, and that's his real name. Am I saying that right? Is it Johnny Warlock? Fuck, it's something Warlock. Hold on.
Is this a porn performer? That's a really good porn name.
No, it's not. He's like a soap opera actor, and he was on Baywatch.
Also, I just looked it up, and Polar Came from the Cold is the name of the webcomic, and it was published without dialogue because the author is Spanish, and he didn't want to translate it into English for, like, international audiences, so he just, like, from the ground up, designed it to have no dialogue, to have mass appeal, which is a pretty cool stylistic decision.
Neat.
Okay. All right, I was right the first time. It's his name is Billy Warlock. And it's so anyway, he is this guy. He's kind of a rich kid, teenager, and I think
part
in
of
California.
High society.
Yeah. But he's like in therapy. He like doesn't trust his family. They kind of act weird. I don't want to say exactly how they act weird because I have to spoil this, but I don't want to just like ruin every beat of the movie for people to not watch it. But the long story short, it is about how the rich are practically a different species from everyone else. And like
So it's about vampires.
That's like, I'm not going to say what everyone turns out to be because again I don't want to spoil this for everyone. I mean I don't know if it's the twist. It's just how it ends. But the point of the movie is that not only are the rich practically not only a different class, but they are in control of the police. They are in control they control the poor,
and they can't understand that a box of Cheerios costs $4.
I mean, my supermarkets, I could probably get Cheerios even cheaper than that. But roughly.
At
anyway,
the
not
dollar
the point.
store.
No, I don't know what your supermarket is like in fancy pants, whatever, Canada. But I can get my Cheerios for like $3.25.
Well then.
Fancy Canada with your functioning society and healthcare.
Yeah. I'm not even. I mean, that's like totally a lie. I will definitely get the off-brand store bought kind of Cheerios for like $1.
Videos,
but not that. Yeah, whatever. But it's actually really good. It's known, because it's a very blatant social satire. It's not it's not subtle, but it's not supposed to be, and that's okay. Satire doesn't have to be. But also, it is gross. It is disgusting. There's just lots
in a visceral way, or like a sensibility
No, I mean,
way?
I mean the special effects are gross. They're
visceral.
Gross. Yeah, the special effects were made by a man named Screaming Mad George. That is his name. And it's very gross and it's very good. I want to talk so much more about this movie, but I don't know. I kind of don't want to spoil it for you two.
Breaking news while you guys try to hammer this one out. Ben Affleck is out at the Batman. He was originally supposed to star and direct, and now he's doing neither. Bye.
I just assumed that for like a year now.
Go figure. I mean, have you looked at the man's facial expressions in the last 3 years?
Who do you think's gonna be the next Batman? I'm gonna say probably me. I think it's gonna be me. You guys?
Rami Malek.
I told you I was gonna get jacked.
It
has to be me, or I did it for nothing.
I think it's gonna be Ansel Eggerbottom.
What is that man's real name? No one will ever know.
Doesn't matter.
Alex Jones.
He's not. I'm sorry, but I'm gonna call him right now. He's not going to be one of those guys.
No,
he's not going to be one of those guys that were 10 years from now. He's still starring in the key role in movies.
It's gonna be Alex Jones.
Jesus. Wait.
Oh, and so I'm sorry.
Have we conflated Ansel Elgort with the guy from Solo? Is that what happened last week?
Look,
I don't
he
care.
was really good in Hail Caesar. Okay.
First of all, no, he wasn't. He was playing a bad actor, and he nailed it because of it.
Wait, what?
That was he in Hail Caesar. He was playing a bad actor.
Yeah, but
that doesn't mean.
But you can see. All right, look, Leon. Here's something I'm going to tell you as an actor, and also as a singer. That being trained in being good at both things makes it actually difficult to look bad
It's Alden Ehrenreich is the man we're actually talking about. Ansel Elgort is an entirely different human being.
You're an Aaron Wright.
I don't. Oh, I super don't care. He doesn't matter.
It's okay. I just want to be clear. Oh, fuck. Okay, so, social commentary movie. You can buy it on Amazon. Before we get to questions, which are coming up just so fast, I can see them and they're catching up to us. I watched another movie.
Okay, that's fine.
I like
Thank
movies.
you for consoling me.
I accept that.
In my time of need. So the movie's called Hereditary.
Okay. We can definitely talk about that, and I can cry.
You can cry. Okay, what does that mean? You've seen it, I take it.
I give the floor
I saw it
to
in the
you
theater.
two.
I saw it in the theater.
Oh, what'd you say, Johnny?
I said I give the floor to you two.
Okay, so you haven't seen it. So I remember seeing a trailer for this movie, and it seemed like it had one premise, and it does not have that premise. That's an interesting thing about it. Another interesting thing is, I thought this was made by like an established horror person. I thought it was like the guy who did The Conjuring, or the guy who did like one of those movies that has like one name or something.
Oculus.
The director and writer Ari Aster has not made a feature film before. He's really only known for a student film he did, which is extremely harrowing to read the description of. I haven't actually seen it. I mean, just content warning: if you're going to look up his filmography, be prepared to even read the premise of that film. It is dark. So Hereditary is his debut, and the trailer was extremely misleading. That's like a lot of backstory before I even talk about what I thought of the film. Leon, any experiences you want to get into?
I've never loved and hated a movie as much as this.
Damn.
I just as a horror fan, and as someone who likes it when movies can actually affect me, I would say that I loved it, but I also hated how it affected me, because I've like never stopped thinking about it.
What is happening? The reason I watched it is because it received overwhelming acclaim from critics. Critics fucking loved it.
Oh yeah,
everyone can't stop talking about it. I looked it up. Apparently, audiences hated it. It's a famously polarizing movie, and usually in that case, I'm with the critics. I think Mother was the most recent one where I was like, hell yeah, I love this shit, and the audience was like, this is dumb as hell, and I was like, nah, you just don't get it. But Hereditary, I think, the other way around. I didn't hate it. I think it's well made, and I admire the almost bait and switch. It's not, that's like judgmental. I don't mean it like it's like fraud, but it's clearly trying to make you think it's one thing and it's another. And I respect the hustle, but I don't think either. Like I wanted the movie from the trailer, the movie that is abruptly cut off at the end of the first act.
Well, Leon never watches trailers, so
That's true.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't. I only knew that it was called Hereditary and that it was going to be good. That was the extent of it. The thing. I feel like, you know, with even without going into spoilers, the thing, what happens in the movie is what makes me what like genuinely bothered me, and made me upset. When the character first shows up, my initial thought was, if anything happens to this character in this movie, I'm going to die. I don't like. I mean, okay. Well, we'll just. We
have to, because the conversation won't make any fucking sense. I'll say to preface the spoiler zone, which we need a jingle for. Pew 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 pew. Ari Aster, the writer and director, his calling card seems to be family trauma. So before we actually talk about spoilers, I like, if that's a content warning you need, I would eject.
Yeah. So one of the characters in the film is a mentally disabled young girl. She's like 10 or so in the movie. As soon as she shows up, I was extremely nervous in the same way that when a dog appears in a horror movie, where you're like, oh, I mean, they're not gonna kill this girl for it to for pathos, basically. That's not going to be what the movie's about. The movie's, I really hope, is going to be about her saving the day in the end and having to be the unlikely hero that saves the family. Please, that's not what happens. She dies. Well, in the movie, not as it pertains to the screenplay, not pointlessly, but she dies pointlessly. Like, she's not killed by the monster or anything,
or even the device that's set up, because like there's like a lot may be strong. There's multiple like things that seem to be setting up her death in one way, and then it takes a hard turn in a completely different way.
Yeah, she dies because, for two reasons. One is because she was sent to a party that she clearly did not want to go to, but her mother, who thought she knew best, insisted upon her going. I'm sorry, I blame the parent. And then I do.
No, I know. I'm right there with her on the social anxiety feelings of like, listen, this is just going to be miserable. You're hurting me. Please stop.
Right. It's especially shitty to do that to your mentally disabled and young daughter, who, by the way, is going to be much younger than the people who are at the party.
Yeah.
There is no reason for you to have done
Extremely
that.
bad.
And as someone who has like feelings, I guess you could say, about family and things like that, I was especially angry about that. I know the movie wants me to be, but that doesn't make it feel any better about the fact that it was intentional. She goes to a party. She has an allergy. The brother, who is not super attentive, only recognizes that she has ingested something that she should not have after the fact, and tries very hard to save her, but does not. She dies terribly, leaning her head out a window to try to get air into her lungs, and a post decapitates her violently and in horror. I mean, this is partly why people did not like this movie. I suspect everyone who I said I don't like this movie for this reason or this reason, and the first reason people say is because it is a miserable experience to watch this movie, and it traffics in that. It's not a miserable experience like a bad movie is miserable to watch. It's a miserable experience because it
artfully portrays misery.
Oh,
yeah, it is.
It's a requiem for a dream.
It is so much worse. I feel nothing compared to that.
Wow.
I don't.
Now I have to see this movie.
I don't want to watch basic. It's hard to describe. I don't like seeing innocent things.
Yeah, like
people.
Nobody's like, oh, I can't wait to see a child die. But it's like a special. You're saying like you seem especially sensitive to this obviously awful thing.
Yeah, but part of that why it bugged me so much is before I was an English teacher, I did a lot of substituting work, and the vast majority of my substituting work was at special education schools for the severely mentally disabled. At first, it was just because those jobs were always available because people were afraid to do them. Like substitutes would like shy away from doing those, and I was like, "Fuck it, I'll do it." And then I just did it. And I'm like, "Oh, this is actually great. These kids are really nice and cool. Why is everyone afraid to do this? They're actually great. This is fine." So I just did it almost every day instead of like anything else. So I don't know. That was too much for me personally to watch that happen in a movie, especially one that it's not done like in a Lifetime original movie kind of way, where like there is a tragedy and the people have to overcome it. It is like, fuck you, look at it a lot, kind of way.
It's shot extremely well. It's like,
sure,
you linger so long without seeing the aftermath, and you like live in this terrible moment for so long, but then it does hit you with it in a gross horror movie way. But since you already sat with it so long, it doesn't feel like it's just shock value. It feels like it's letting you experience the full emotional range in that moment of the son who just had that terrible thing happen. It's really well done. I'm not trying to...
Oh, absolutely.
I'm not taking that away from it, so...
Yeah, Toni Collette, excellent actress. She fucking nailed it. I love Gabriel Byrne just in general, so when he shows up in things, I'm interested.
I was like, oh, it's Miller's Crossing.
He's very good. And like everyone just fucking brought it in this movie, and that's why like the part of me that hates this movie is sometimes drowned out by the part of me that loves this movie. But it's to the point. The parts of me that had these very disparate feelings about this movie, they never make me want to defend the movie or condemn it either. If someone says, "Oh, I fucking hate that movie," I'm like, "Me too." And if someone says, "Oh, it's the best horror movie of the year," I'm like, "Yeah, I think so too." So it's like I have very weird feelings about this movie. So if you hated it or if you loved it, like you're not going to get like a strong argument from me. One way or the other. Normally, I plant my flag when it comes to my tastes in movies to an obnoxious degree.
It's part of the aesthetic now.
Yeah, but in this rare case, that's probably not going to do. I have to do an episode on it because someone paid me to do it.
Oh, damn!
So that is going to happen in March, I think. And I will have things to say. It will not be about whether or not I thought the movie was good or bad. It will just be about the
themes.
Content. You know, the stuff that is in the movie. I might have to get a little personal in it. I don't know if I'm going to be. I'm a little more comfortable talking about that kind of shit on this show and not the other show, but we'll see. But yeah, that's coming because someone made me.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
yeah.
We're about at the question point of the show, so I'll wrap it up. I just did want to say that I think earlier I mentioned Mother as a similarly polarizing film, and they both share a child death as kind of the polarizing moment, the thing that people remember about both movies. But what worked for me was that with Mother was that I felt so much more connection to the themes that I was going for, where in Hereditary it feels like it's going for one theme and then switches to another. I'm not going to spoil the whole movie just because it's, well, fuck it. It turns out that the movie is not about like an evil curse being passed from the evil grandmother through the family hereditarily, as you might think. It is instead like a vast conspiracy about the goetic demon Paimon, which it didn't work for me for a variety of reasons, some of which are Paimon I'm really familiar with, and it was very goofy to me because my mental image of that demon is a man riding a camel. I have it saved on my computer as art for the current Dice Funk season.
Okay.
For comedic reasons that would take too long to explain. So when he showed up in the movie, I was like, this isn't that camel guy. What are you doing? It just was very weird. It was like, what if suddenly the killer from It Follows was like Bugs Bunny or something? It just didn't work for me for weird esoteric reasons. Also, it wasn't the movie I thought I was watching. So
That's fine.
But how does Terrence Malick feel about it?
Yeah, I wish I had a Terrence Malick quote about Hereditary.
Yeah.
He says, not as good as Smoking Aces. Huh. Interesting.
Regardless of how the bad stuff is happening, there's still a whole lot of your family is fucked up and you're kind of cursed to them, I guess you could say. That was a lot for me. As well,
but it's not actually the trauma. It's just an outside force with agency acting on you.
Sure. Yeah, I know. No, it's not. It's not like 1,000 years ago this one family had a bad DNA.
Yeah.
No, it's other stuff, but it's still the people who came before you have decided your fate ahead of time. Anyway, I'll have to watch it again to even remember all the details. There was a few twists and turns.
Yeah.
But anyway, I sure did watch it.
Yeah, there's also some really interesting things to say about the uncanny, from the casting of the little girl who has kind of an uncanny look to the use of nudity towards the end, and then some people climbing walls and hitting their heads in interesting ways. Like, the movie plays with human anatomy in a way. Like, I didn't think anything about it was scary. Like, the movie never once was scary. It was just bad feels for a lot of it.
tense for a lot of the movie, which is very closely related to that. So I'll certainly give it that. I liked that it ended with Both Sides Now, which is a song I like.
Mm-hmm.
I prefer the Joni Mitchell version much more, but I liked that. I like that. I guess.
I mean, it literally ended the same way The Witch did. Honestly, like at the end, someone could have just said, "Wilt thou live deliciously?" And I'd be like, "Oh, it's okay, shared universe." But anyway,
like sometimes there are witches. Let's do questions.
we should do questions. I just want to check one thing real quick because my brain is telling me. No, okay, never mind. Long story. Questions. I got one here from Common Ryan H. Game Punk, gay, with a Y in there. At
Very good.
Nouveau Art Punk on Twitter. There's no article in there. It just says favorite works that are heavily socialist, leftist, or anti-fascist in their themes. I've been playing Tales of Vesperia, and that game is Antifa as fuck. I'll just say, as far as Tales of Vesperia goes, it seems like mostly by the numbers JRPG, but secretly the main character is going around killing fascists and like hiding their bodies in sand dunes and shit. It's like really dark for like a Tales game, which are usually like, use the power of friendship to power the airship, and it's just like this dude going around and just killing dudes, just icing fools.
Yeah. Let me look at my schedule for the rest of the year because I know I'm going to touch on things like that. Someone else can go first.
All right. So it was favorite anti-fascist?
Yeah, anti-fascist or heavily socialist/leftist.
The Muppets Take Manhattan.
I've got to hear your explanation.
Well, I mean, like, in the first place, the Muppets are a perfect example of a collective, right?
I don't know if I've watched enough Muppets, honestly.
Oh, Austin, I'm disappointed in you.
I feel like I watched Muppet Babies, and I've seen like a Muppet Christmas Carol, and like an occasional like reference here or there, but that's like the extent of it. I know the characters,
Right, but not like the I can't believe I'm going to say this.
the lore.
The canon Muppets.
Oh God.
So yeah, the Muppets Take Manhattan. Oh no, not that one. No, the Great Muppet Caper is what I'm thinking of. Sorry.
How do they steal from the rich?
Yeah.
Hell yeah, dude.
Yeah, so it's about a collective of underdog Muppets who kind of get roped into stealing shit, and then they do. The Muppets steal a bunch of fucking jewels and shit like that, so...
I like the idea that if you listen to just kind of every like occasional episode of Word Funk, you might get the impression that we think socialism is just stealing.
It's not,
Look,
but we should also steal things.
Yeah.
Like, it turns out 1980 is kind of okay, but I still like the idea of a bunch of weirdos who wind up getting together and just pulling off this fucking amazing heist and fucking over the people who manipulate them.
My answer to that is Star Trek. It's an explicitly leftist and not liberal show, I guess you could say. That's the one that always comes to my mind. I'm looking through my list of basically everything I'm doing this year and trying to pick things out because I'm obviously picking movies like that. Sorry to Bother You, certainly comes to mind. I feel like Austin made that sound because he wanted to say that.
Yeah, I mean, Boots Riley was starting shit on Twitter recently. He's just
and he was doing a good job.
Yeah.
He has a song called "The Guillotine." If you just want to look that up, by the way, he's very good at music as well as film.
It goes, guillotine.
I mean, Star Trek's obviously, I think, one of the best answers because it is an explicitly idealistic view of the kind of perfect world we should work towards. The other obvious one that came to my mind was It's a Wonderful Life, which was accused of being propaganda in its time.
Yeah.
Also, I mean, Mad Max is kind of, well, this is all just like, hey, Austin, what are your favorite movies? And they all just happen to have the same themes. It's just like, hey, fascists maybe should get fucking their face ripped off by a chain attached to a wheel. That'd be cool.
Now you're talking about Road Fury, right?
Yeah, Fury Road.
Fury Road. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry,
I
I just,
what...
when I went to my ma's place for Christmas, the DVD collection has Mad Max and then Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome next to each other.
Mm-hmm.
But then down in the R section, they have the Road Warrior, and I was like,
yeah, they were marketed strangely.
I want to fix that.
Well,
So
I was just about to say, what are even the themes of the first one? It's just like his wife dies, and so he gets revenge on gangs. Like, that's a almost reactionary film. The politics are wildly divergent.
It's a total. The first Mad Max is a grindhouse film.
Yeah, it's basically Death Wish in Australia.
Pretty much, yeah.
Neo Yokio.
Okay, I think we crushed that fucking question.
Right on, Leon.
Next.
This is one I think's just for me. Kreliamite at Kreliamite on Twitter asks, any thoughts on Killer Mike's new Netflix show, Trigger Warning? I tried to watch it and it's very bad.
I haven't started yet.
I mean, I enjoy Killer Mike's music. I enjoy his political opinions. He is, famously a big fan of Bernie. Like, they did a bunch of interviews together and stuff. And it's clear in the show that he does know his shit, but his tendencies veer just too close to, like, shock jock, almost like Jackass style, where it's like, here's an idea I want to convey, but to make it interesting, I'm going to be deliberately kind of provocative, and it doesn't work for me. I also don't think the interviews are very good.
The Ricky Gervais approach.
I thought to myself that it's kind of the left's equivalent of like a bad Fox show, like a Fox News thing, where it's like, here's an idea we want to express. In Fox's case, it'd be like, taxes are bad. But instead of saying that, we're going to say, immigrants are coming to kill your family. And in the same way, Killer Mike's like, black communities don't have proper financial support. And so he's like, I'm going to make this show. He literally does an episode where he like tries to sell porn to schools. It's like, I get it, dude. It's just not particularly well made. And it has...
libertarianism.
Did you just say libertarianism?
Yeah.
I don't know what to say to that, Johnny.
Next. you guys trailed off. I'm sorry. I can't hear you or something.
I know. Johnny just yelled libertarianism and it just caught me completely flat-footed.
Well, no. Why shouldn't kids be able to buy porn?
Oh, okay. Oh, I see. You were...
Okay.
Okay.
Now, I mean...
Okay, I got you now.
I think there are good ideas in the show, and I think he actually does know what he's talking about, but the show he chose to... I mean, this show is called Trigger Warning. That should be like the first...
Yeah.
I wish I had it on hand. Someone made like an infographic of all of the comedians who have had specials called Triggered in the last couple of years, and it's like half a dozen of like big name, like household name comedians who all had this same special name because that's literally all they can think about is being like, are you offended? Are you offended? Are you offended? It's like their brains have been fucking devoured by this virus of thinking they're the edgiest person on the planet, and it's got Killer Mike got a little bit of that virus in him, and it's like all the good ideas he has are kind of covered in that sauce, and it's unfortunate. He's still talented, but I cannot recommend that show. Not good. I can recommend Run the Jewels though. All three of their albums are good. Next question. There's a lot of questions. Oh God, that I feel like I could. Ooh, here's one for Leon Cyretha at LS Blackwood. Leon, are you going to watch the Page movie, Fighting with My Family? Parentheses wrestling.
0 chance.
I just crossed my arms, just so you know, as Austin said wrestling.
Yeah, I know. I was trying to get as many questions in because we ran a little long on the Hereditary talk. I saw the trailer for this movie, and I was like, oh, it's wrestling. Why aren't you going to see it? You just don't like the movie, Leon?
I don't care about biopics.
What's that word?
I don't care about biopics.
Oh, you're not even going to humor me.
Nope, what?
I'm definitely not. No. We're gonna burn through this one. I'm not interested in watching movies like that. Pass. Sorry. Even if it's about a subject that I know about, it just doesn't interest me at all. It would be like watching a biopic of a musician I like. Like, oh, I like the musician. I'm not gonna watch your biopic. It's not gonna happen.
So apparently he doesn't like biopics, Austin.
He's not gonna play with us, Johnny. He's not doing it.
No. If I like Tom Waits, but if there's ever a Tom Waits biopic, I'm not gonna watch it. Sorry, pass. I already know enough. I mostly just like his music. The end.
Someone made the point when that Queen movie came out. They're like, "How are we still making these kind of movies after Walk Hard came out?" And it feels like the whole genre basically got destroyed, and people are still pretending like it isn't.
Yeah, people have been spreading that Bohemian Rhapsody clip of the unfortunate editing. But here's the thing about that clip: the editing isn't even the worst part. It's the dialogue. Yeah. It's the guy saying, "Well, the reason we're different, is that we're singing to all the freaks in the back, and we're the freaks too." But they hear us, man. They really hear us. I'm like, oh, fuck. Did the band also write the script?
No, actually, historically, Freddie Mercury and Brian May were roommates. And when the lead singer dropped out, Freddie May was like, my roommate can sing. That was the story.
Okay, cool. That's enough, though. Like, it's fine. I find biopics to be like overly grandiose. Like they're overinflating the importance of whatever subject it is, and the fact that Queen. I feel like desperately wanted the surviving members of Queen desperately wanted this movie to be made. Like, and I don't know, like this was their next thing or the last thing.
No,
they were gonna...
like they love Freddie.
That's cool, but like the people who are really behind this movie are also the people who were in Queen. The movie is not going to be a hard look at Queen. It's a puff piece.
So, look, the members of Queen were behind the movie because they wanted Freddie Mercury to have a presence. They want that, magic that he brought to the band known to the world. And, as a Queen fan, too, I am ecstatic that his relevance is still available. I would prefer it if it wasn't brought by Bryan Singer.
I mean, they could have made a movie where Freddie Mercury's character gets noogied for an hour and a half, and it would do nothing to diminish their legacy, which will live on long after all of us are dead. Their music is timeless. The movie looks bad, and partially, as Leon said, it's because the dialogue.
It does look bad.
I mean, the way they speak in that clip is like the way that people talk in the trailers. You know, it's just like, oh man, we're really, doing it for all the freaks out there or whatever. But they're putting it in situations that are not trailer worthy. They were just having a conversation in front of a green screen or whatever. It looks bad, but it could look terrible and it'd still be Queen.
Dramatization. Like I said, the whole concept that, and there's apparently a point in the movie where they, dramatically fire their manager when, truthfully, in history, they parted ways amicably and they spoke well of each other for the rest of their lives.
I haven't seen it yet. I just, I'm gonna have to, but
Seems bad. Next question.
Eat shit, Bryan Singer.
Yeah.
Here's one I think probably mostly aimed at Johnny. Scarlet R at Scarlet167787373. I just realized they can make me read whatever the number they want. Asks, what are you guys listening to lately?
Oh, actually, the soundtrack to a TV show that I talked about a couple of weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
Soundtrack to a show called Flowers.
Yeah, I keep meaning to get around to that.
Yeah, by someone named Arthur Sharp. And the soundtracks are... Sorry, I have the hiccups now.
Oh, that's cute.
I was wondering what
isn't
happened,
it?
but go ahead.
They're very different for the two seasons. The second one is a caustic symphony. Just like noisy and strange and weird. And something I appreciate. The first one, you should probably see the show to figure out what it's addressing.
I like that one song, Spirits by the Strumbarellas. I sure do like it. I just heard it for the first time recently, and I'm like, oh, I like this song. I'll listen to this a few times. The end.
I feel like Leon shouldn't be allowed to listen to music unless it contains the phrase "Ye my slime," because that really adds a lot to our show.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm supposed to be giving recommendations. That's what they both just did, and that feels like the spirit of the question. But what I've been listening to recently has mostly been bad. I tried listening to the new singles from Vampire Weekend and the new album of covers by Weezer, and it's a big thumbs down from me all across the board on those.
Sorry.
Yeah, hiccup. I'm turgid for your Weezer takes, Johnny.
Look, it did get me wondering, am I a scrub?
Well, there's an easy way to check if you're a scrub. Have you been leaning out the passenger side of your best friend's ride recently?
No.
Probably not a scrub then.
But this is the thing, is that I'm not hollering at her.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't get no love from her.
Is hollering good or bad?
But usually bad. It's like catcalling in the context
Okay.
of the song.
Oh, I apologize. I wasn't sure if it was like, let me holler at you.
No, it
It's
is.
more like,
It can be used
So,
that way,
like-
but in the context of the song, it's a scrub, so it's...
So hey,
Oh, I see.
a scrub is a guy who can't get no love from me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And
fair.
I'm like,
Yeah, Johnny, I existed in that time period too.
If Weezer's at a weird moment in their career, because they haven't been relevant in basically forever, but suddenly because of their cover of Africa by Toto, and then they got featured in an SNL skit that went viral, they're having like a resurgence, so they capitalized on that with this album, and you don't need to get legal clearance for covers, only samples, so it's free money, and I respect the hustle, but I think there's a reason they haven't been relevant in a while, which is they're not particularly musically interesting anymore. I do enjoy the early stuff, even their problematic phase, aka Pinkerton, which has not aged well but is interesting. Weezer. What about Vampire Weekend? I like a couple of their singles, right? But I never really liked any of their full albums. Do you guys have Vampire Weekend takes?
I don't like them at all. I never have. They sound like a rocked up kind of fucking Paul Simon.
I mean, they're kind of one of the poster indie I don't want to say just indie band because that's not even very specific, but there was a very twee moment when I was in college where everybody was into bands that sounded like Vampire Weekend, and I really did. I wanted to fit in with all the cool kids, but I was like, I like the song Oxford Comma by them. That's besides their biggest singles, Diane Young and A-Punk, I believe, are the other ones I'm thinking of. I enjoy those as well, but Oxford Comma is the one that stuck with me because I also have strong feelings about that punctuation.
I don't care.
I love you, Johnny. So on our way out, this one, Leon, you have very strong opinions in this arena. JJ Hernandez at JJ Rambles asks, when someone follows you on Twitter, do you check out their posts before deciding to block or mute them, or do you wait until they say something gross? Tell us how to use social media, popular guy.
Oh, when someone follows me on Twitter, I don't know. I don't notice because I don't get alerted to that. I purposefully don't.
He's
I
above
notice,
that.
I'm sorry?
He's above that.
No, it's just it's not like I have millions of followers on Twitter. Like my people are on my YouTube channel. Twitter, I don't get like tons and tons of followers. I just don't notice, and I don't look into my my notifications are set up that I am only notified when someone I follow says something to me. When people I don't follow say things to me, I don't know that they do unless I decide to click on it and say, I wonder what people said in response to this, but usually I don't. So that's the real truth. I did look into my mentions or the replies to something earlier today, but that's only because someone I do follow was having a conversation with someone else, someone I don't follow, and they didn't untag me. So I just like saw half the conversation. I was like, all right, I have time. I might as well find out what this is about. And it was someone with like a burner account, like, you know, clearly like without an avatar, no followers. Their entire timeline is talking shit to people. This is obviously not their main, or if they are, this is what they decided to do with their entire Twitter life. I blocked that person because I don't want that person to even know I exist. They don't follow me, that person.
I love when you see someone's content and it's bad, and then you go check to see if it's all bad, and it's just like they're an aggressive normie, except for when they were bad. Like someone just like, oh, why don't you Google Venezuela? And then you just check their profile, and it's just like, really excited to see the baseball game this weekend.
I do not have that experience. Usually when someone has the worst take, it's not in isolation. That has not been my experience at all. But that's interesting for you. Austin.
I don't get it that much. I'm not popular or famous. Occasionally someone says something gross, and I usually mute them. But sometimes I check first just to see if like maybe I'm misconstruing it or being too sensitive. And I don't know.
Yeah. That happens a lot for me on YouTube when someone has like the worst opinion and trying to get into my comment section, and I'm like, I wonder if this person is just shitty today. And I click, and there's usually ways to find out. You can see who else they're subscribed to, and I was like, oh, you're bad. Oh, you love that Sargon, don't you? And everyone related to them. You can go away. You're not going to say anything meaningful to me ever, and you're not going to infect.
Why
my
won't you
comment section.
just debate him? Just debate him.
Debate me.
Why are you scared? Why are you scared?
Oh my! It's so. I know you're joking, but in case anyone's wondering, it's because it's performative garbage. It's nothing.
And life is short.
Yeah, also, there is also that. The other thing is, like, I feel like I can make my points better by doing lots of research and then making my point, rather than, like, playing a game, basically, with someone and trying to remember all kinds of shit on the spot or what they are really doing, making sure that their camera doesn't see that they're Googling stuff. As they're debating, saying, "Well, the reason I think this about Venezuela is because well, in 1989, you know, it's like I'm not really interested in doing that. It's all bullshit. Basically, they're all lying." And I can either lie to keep up or not engage, and I will not engage.
Leon is scared. I have an open call. You can debate me. You just have to pay me for my time. I charge lawyer rates, so make sure it's a good debate.
Yeah. Okay. Anywho.
Yeah.
Anything you guys want to say right before we go?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you guys ever wonder why, when skulls show up in movies that have been, like, buried for years, they have all their teeth?
Yeah, skeletons are always whole, as if they're not held together by connective tissue and tendon, but rather just naturally magnetized to every other bone in the body.
No. I mean, all of their teeth. Like, perfect dental care was a thing.
That's how the props arrived.
Okay, this is fun.
Austin, I was making a joke.
Yeah, we all know.
Remember that time when we told the Starbucks guy to eat our asses? That was good.
Now